on them, even for mediation. But I believe the House can come in by way of negotiation and even play some oversight functions. Even when the disputing parties are there, the House can come towards the House, and the House sends representatives or intervenes in their issues and sort of guides them on the role they should play. And like my boss here said, when that negotiation is gotten down and documented in the form of an award, it can be taken to the High Court of the FCT or any state in which that negotiation is done, and it has the force of law as long as it's not appealed. Then yes, within 30 days. Then the Arbitration and Mediation Act took an extra step to make sure that you cannot just appeal any award for the sake of it. You know, in courts, we always have people appealing for the sake of it. So the arbitrators, the business people came together, and their businesses are getting harmed because of the long era of litigation. So it says you can only appeal an award for fraud or misrepresentation, just those two grounds alone. And just wake up and say, I'm going to appeal. So your award, once you take it to the High Court and register it there, it has the force of law. You can go and enforce. But for this particular issue, negotiation and even conciliation, when it comes to disputes between communities and the petroleum companies, conciliation, mediation, more especially negotiation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Billy. I think I have to ask some clarity from NUPRC and modular refinery owners and Dangote refinery and also NNDPRA. We have talked so much about the domestic crude supply and its implementation. And we've also seen the president talk about the Naira crude and so on and so forth. But I think there have been an issue, and we have received complaints, several complaints from modular refinery owners about non-availability of the feedstock. And the day before yesterday, we heard you say that out of the over 48 cargoes that was ready, that about 24 thereabout was for domestic crude supply, and the refinery people could not take up to 11 cargoes, thereby alluding that maybe they don't have the capacity or the need for that. But on the other hand, we have interacted with a lot of them, and they told us that the exploration companies and also you people makes it difficult for them in terms of outrageous charges and technical bottleneck, especially the issue of premium that are being asked to pay $4 or something, I don't know the amount, that this implementation is not working because there's deliberate effort to frustrate the implementation. And as a committee, we are so concerned and determined to ensure that indigenous refineries have access to feedstock. That is embarrassing that as a nation that produces crude oil, that our refineries will be having challenges with getting access to the basic raw material for refining. And that is why, now that you are here, we want to get a clarity. What is the problem? Why there is this back and forth on this issue of sustainable access to feedstock to domestic refineries, whether modular or the big refineries? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My next question is going to the regulator. Nupeng, no, not Nupeng. Okay. Oh, okay.
Hello, sir. Look at the man behind, no?
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. I think the chairman asked a question, so I will let you provide an answer to that before I go with the other question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, honorable members. And this question is a very, very important question, and I think we've been giving answers to it over various fora. Basically, the modular refiners, we have made provision for them, and we are still making efforts to give them crude. First of all, a lot of them have network issues in terms of the pipeline to their various facilities. As you are all aware, a lot of our pipelines are now moribund. Using them to transfer or transport crude to refineries is quite difficult because of the level of vandalization on the pipeline. So this brings in an extra cost to the modular refiners to go for alternative evacuation, which is trucking and maybe possibly barging. Now, the Commission has also done a study where we did a mapping of all modular refineries, and we asked ourselves a pertinent question. Can Mr. A, who has access to Mr. B or is close by to Mr. B, give Mr. B oil on behalf of some other operator in order for them to be able to fulfill their DCSO? And the answer is yes. I can just cite one example, sir. OPAC Refinery, to be precise, shares a common fence with Pillar Oil. So what it implies is that if Pillar Oil can supply OPAC Refinery the obligation of some other operator along that axis, it will be able to fulfill the other operators' obligations and increase the feedstock to OPAC Refinery. Now, we have had this discussion even about a week plus ago when we had the Koran Summit in Lagos, and this was discussed. And we all agreed that in the very near future, we are going to ensure that we call up a workshop to discuss the nitty-gritty of that crude swap arrangement, so to provide more crude to the refiners. Another thing that we've observed, sir, is this: pricing. Crude most times is made available. In fact, it's always available. If you look at the precision I made, I said 89% of the requirement is being met. However, there are certain things that the Commission cannot dabble into with respect to pricing. Pricing has been the major issue. And the PIA categorically stated that this pricing and this sale will be done on a willing buyer, willing seller basis. The Commission is not coming into that space. It allowed the operators and the refiners to carry out their commercial discussions and maybe revert back to the Commission if they have a dispute. We even asked all the operators and the refiners to constantly give us the after-sales price of the crude oil that they sell, and we've been getting response from them in that aspect. So basically, sir, there is crude available. Pipeline infrastructure is the issue, and again, pricing is the issue. But as I said earlier, the Commission has gone a step further with this crude swap metrics that will support the modular refiners get crude from nearby operators on behalf of other operators who could not get to them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I know that thing should be interactive.
If I get you correctly, it talked about willing buyer and willing seller issues.
Yes.
But you understand the obligation placed by the law on the need for domestic supply as mandatory. So are you saying that if we run into a problem with all those pricing issues left, right, and center, that obligation cannot be waived, whereby it cannot be fulfilled, and refiners cannot go importing crude or looking for how to survive? And also, you didn't talk about the complaint they raised in the petition they sent to us, that they are being charged outrageous premiums and so on and so forth. Are you aware of that, on those issues which they are complaining is militating against their ability to have access to feedstock? And also, what do you think that needs to be done to guarantee sustained crude supply? Because crude must be, accessed by domestic refineries. So how do we solve it? Because if we don't solve it, then we failed as a nation.
First of all, thank you, sir. I think the first thing is to sustain production, which the Commission has done, carried out a series of activities and projects to help in that direction. For example, the project 1 million barrel. Then secondly, in terms of pricing, sir, we've had this discussion with the different operators and the refiners, and we've had situations where the operators are willing to sell the oil plus a premium with their traders. And these issues have been going on, and the Commission is exploring other means of making sure the modular refiners get crude. Let me give an example. There's a modular refiner who has an agreement with an operator, and he told the operator, see, instead of taking your crude oil to the terminal, which gives you an extra cost, which brings in an extra cost, I'll come with a badge and take the crude oil from your facility myself. And in that process, I'm going to be able to reduce or drop that cost on transportation to a terminal that we are looking at. So we are looking at different frameworks and different arrangements to see how we can support the modular refiners. And I can tell you, after we had that discussion in Lagos, I think a lot of them were satisfied. I believe this report was as a result of something in the past, not just of recent, because we are working together to ensure that we support them in terms of feedstock security, sir.
Thank you very much. Dangote, please, we want to give you the floor to tell Nigerians. What's the situation when it comes to accessibility of crude oil right now?
Thank you. We've been on this issue since March last year. We've had many workshops convened by NUPRC to discuss this issue of domestic crude supply. To our surprise, each time the Commission claims that domestic crude is being supplied as per the obligation. But we as the recipients, we are not seeing that. So there's a disconnect, and we've communicated that many times. Part of the problem, the biggest problem really is pricing. And just to illustrate, let's say today I decide, you decide you want this my Dangote pen, right? And I'm the only one that will sell you this pen. And I say, well, since you want it, even though there's an obligation, there's a law that says I must sell to you, but you have to pay 10 million naira. And the Commission is somehow okay with that. What we have said is that if you look at the PIA, even though it mentions willing seller, willing buyer, that the Commission seems to be using as an excuse not to intervene, PIA section 109, subsection 1 says, subject to subsection 2 will be willing seller, willing buyer. So the willing seller, willing buyer is not absolute, it's subject to subsection 2. And that subsection 2 is what gives the Commission the power to develop regulations and guidelines on how the obligations will work. So willing seller, willing buyer is not absolute. Now, subsection 4 also goes ahead to say that the supply will be commercially negotiated based on prevailing market prices. So if we go back to this excuse of me selling you this pen, how do we determine the market price of this pen? Rather than just bilateral. And what we told the Commission is that the same PIA says the fiscal oil price, the 7th schedule, subsection 8, says the fiscal oil price will be set in a way that approximates the market price for any grade. So the Commission sets the fiscal oil price, and we believe they are setting that in line with the market as required by the PIA. So if the fiscal oil price that is used to determine taxes that are paid to Nigeria is set in line with market, then that should be the market price that will be used for the transaction of crude in Nigeria. But today what is happening is that maybe this pen, the Commission will say the price is 1 million and tax will be paid on 1 million. Then I will now go and sell it to my international trader at 1 million. That international trader will come and sell it back to you at 2 million. And that difference sits outside Nigeria and it's not taxed. We have told the Commission whatever the price is, we're happy to pay as long as that will be the price that the same producer will use to pay taxes in Nigeria. So this in a way is almost like tax evasion that is being allowed. Just imagine I'm selling any good, and then instead of selling the good directly to you in Nigeria, I first sell it to somebody abroad, That person will then sell it back to you at a higher price, but I pay my tax in Nigeria only at the price that I use to transfer to my other company abroad. So this is really the crux of the matter, and we have proposed to the Commission that whatever price is used to sell to domestic refineries, that should be the price used to determine taxes to be paid to Nigeria. Otherwise, there will be a leakage. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable. You have a question? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I think the Parliament should look at this matter very well, particularly this committee and the Upstream Committee. The issue of availability of feedstock is challenging. The Parliament should look at the contractual agreement, the terms contract of these crudes. Some crude has been maybe sold before even production. And maybe this take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And I think the producers or NMPC must, provide that product to those ones that they have already sold the products or the crudes. I think we have to look into this matter because some terms contracts are in secrecy. Nobody knows. Similarly, we have to ask the OPEC quota, the 450,000 barrels that's supposed to be into the domestic refinery. We have to also find out if that one is available. At the same time, there is this illusion that Nigeria is producing 1.8 million barrels in a day. But what is the equity of Nigeria out of that? So I think these are the issues of availability. That's why some refineries don't get the feedstock. Similarly, I think I agree with Dangote in some certain aspect that these cargoes are sold to other traders. But it's a tradition of the industry to sell to other traders. And because this has been in the history. But for the purpose of the Nigeria, I think we have to find out by legislature to investigate and find out exactly how we can get these cargoes back into the country.
Yes. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Please, if we have the representative of OPAC and CORA here, okay, do we still have any space in front? If not, you have a mic right there. Please, you can go ahead and just let's know from your own perspective, this accessibility of crude.
Okay.
Talk to us. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, honorable members of the House, ladies and gentlemen. I want to stand on existing protocol. My name.
Please, do you need an extra mic? We can hardly hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I have an extra mic? Okay. Can I stand up? Okay. My name is H.S. Stephen Idoko. I'm the Publicity Secretary of Crude Oil Refiners Association of Nigeria. And I have here with me Japhet Nyimfawa, who is the government relations person from OPAC Refinery, and I have the Executive Director, Crude Oil Refiners Association here, Mr. Martins. We want to speak to this issue because it particularly affects our members. Dangote is one of our members, and then we have 5 other producing refineries in Nigeria. The issue of feedstock has been a niggling issue for a while. We want to thank the Honorable House. You have intervened severally. We have had sessions with the Red Chamber, the Senate, on the same issue. And like any PRC had admitted, sometimes very recently in our annual summit, we had a closed door in which NEPRC participated elaborately. The issue of feedstock supply, just to put the issue within context, is not about availability. It has never been about availability. The truth is that even the crude that is imported and exported are being exported to refineries to refine. Those are not different refineries. They are same refineries as us. They are configured as Nigerian refineries, and then they refine crude products as ours. The issue has always been a commercial issue. And what we have said is that as modular refiners, or as local refiners rather, that we want a fair and transparent pricing template for the sales of crude to us to enable us remain competitive, because the margins for refining, as you all are aware, are very, very slim. Now, we are lifting your crude from you at your terminal, at your wellhead. Now, if you are selling to an international buyer, what happens is that by the time he takes it to the ship, you would give him discounts for the logistics that he requires to take it to the ship. Our members have either constructed pipelines at their cost, as is the case with OPAC Refinery, or have taken trucks, as is the case with the Edo Refinery, to your wellhead to lift it. They are associated costs. And these costs are supposed to form the blanket under which you identify your cost. What we have said to the crude producers is that, look, if we are taking those costs off you, then we should have some rebates in terms of those costs. And that's why when they sell to the traders at either WTI or Brent less the cost of logistics. But now what they are saying to us is that whenever they have their DCRR, like the NEPRC person has referred to, they will be quoting prices to us at Brent or at WTI without those discounts. Honorable members, you agree with me that if we are to purchase at that price, we would not break even. The simple thing we have asked for is that there should be transparent. What constitutes the elements that aggregates the price for which they are selling these particular products to our members? It is what we are asking for. And now in a situation where we are undertaking to handle the logistics of picking that crude, because it is local, from their wellhead to our facility, they should be able to give us discount. Remember, when they pump through pipelines, there is a cost associated with it. And even when apart from the cost, there's also a general loss declared. There's a margin of loss declared. All those things we have saved for them in providing an alternative for evacuation. We're only just saying that it will not be too much for them to show us some level of magnanimity in giving us rebates. That's why we are saying that what we are asking for is not actually a discount. We are actually asking for fair pricing and transparency in the pricing mechanisms. I think OPAC will want to also give you a bit of what the experience has been. And these are not textbook. These are real issues that we are facing as we speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, honorable members, the chairman. Thank you for inviting us to this very engaging session. My name is Japhet Infawa, and I represent OPAC Refinery. And it's good to also highlight some of the challenges we have faced in the enforcement of the DCSO. For example, OPAC Refinery has been producing since 2021. And I will tell this honorable house that we are a 10,000 barrel per day refinery, and we are only able to secure 1,000 barrel per day to refine in our facility since inception. And this 1,000 barrel had come as a result of the relationship we have had with our partners in the refinery. And again, I'll say since the PIA was passed, OPAC Refinery specifically, we have been part of every of the process in structuring from the regulation to the guideline that has been set and to the implementation of the DCSO. But we can say boldly...
Yes, thank you. Can you, I know you talked about getting the 1,000 instead of 10,000.
Yes, sir.
The 1,000 you got, how did you get it?
Yes, so that was one of the structures we had put in place before setting up a refinery. Mm-hmm. This was without the assistance of the law. This is based on the relationship we have with our partners, because we thought it strategic to have in place some kind of arrangement and also bank on also the government support to get us up to 10,000 barrels. And I'll also say the intent of modular refineries is also good, we know. There was a problem, and it was good we addressed that stranded and trapped crudes are located inland. So it's good that modular refineries were trying to address the problem that instead of sending crude oil from your wellhead to the terminals where you achieve a lot of losses and leakages in the pipeline, why not produce this crude and send it directly to the modular refinery, which is annexed to you, so you can refine and also send this product into the local market. But we have not achieved this. So I think I heard in the presentation by NUPRC where we had complained severally that there is a lengthy challenge in the KYC process. And we don't take this for granted because we have not installed a refinery not to make profit or not to even sell crude to the market. And I'll also give an example that one of the producers even came up with threshold in terms of financing that will not enable us to take crude from them. So we see ambiguity in the PIA and the DCSO where it says it is an obligation and you are subjecting it to a willing buyer, a willing seller access for us to get crude. In fact, in our last summit, we had spoken with NMDPRA that these claims, not just OPAC refinery, every other refinery have not enjoyed the benefit of the DCSO because of commercial misalignment or disagreement in getting crude. And again, secondly, I also speak to the crude for Naira, which was actually recently, I think our umbrella association, Koran, we had fought that crude oil will be sold in Naira. But we are also thankful to the federal government that when it implemented this last year, however, it was only extended to refineries that can produce PMS. Modular refineries can produce PMS, but the technical...
Thank you. I understand you really want to tell us a whole lot, which we appreciate, but for the want of time, what do you think, what are measures that you think can be put in place right now? Just give us like two to take care of issues like this in the nearest future.
Okay, one very...
Just two,
yes,
briefly. Yeah.
One very specific is also, we had said, if there can be maybe an executive amendment to the law. Section 109 of the PIA says it's an obligation, but it's being subjected to a willing buyer, willing seller basis. So with that, we as refiners, we are willing buyers. So we don't, in most cases, get...
so what type of amendment? What exactly do you want in the amendment?
In the amendment, either an obligation should stand as an obligation.
Okay.
It should not be subjected to a willing buyer, willing seller.
Thank you. Do you have another measure? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Quickly, please.
Yes.
Dangote, please, we want to hear that too. Your own measure, just one.
Usually,
yes.
Usually where there is an obligation, there should be a penalty for default.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, as it stands now, there are no penalties for defaulting in the DCSO. We want to pray the Honorable House that apart from removing the clause, willing buyer, willing seller, or reenacting the clause, willing seller, willing buyer, because we understand it's a commercial transaction, we want a clause that would penalize producers and traders who have willfully denied us access to feedstock. And then we also want to add, it's also contained in a memorandum. I'm sure by the time we present our memorandum, we'll speak to that in effect for...
Economy of time, present the memorandum so we can make progress. Thank you. You've tried. Then Dangote, let's hear from you.
I think if there is
solution. Let's speak to solution.
If there's one change we will request, it is that the price producers use to pay their taxes should also be the same price that is used to sell to domestic refineries.
Come again.
the price that producers use to pay their taxes should be the same price that is used to sell to domestic refineries.
So that's not what is applicable now?
No. Today,
so
the price that is used to pay taxes versus the price that they sell to us, there's a difference of $2 to $3.
So that's what you'll be purchasing from them?
Yes, $2 to $3
and you have
higher.
And you have a problem with that?
Yes, also
you can't
as Nigerians,
you can't survive if you continue in that route.
Yes, because $3, that's $3 million per cargo.
Okay, so hold on. I want it to be very interactive.
Yes.
So you cannot survive with the present arrangement.
No, one, we can't survive, and then two, we don't think it's fair on Nigeria that money is parked abroad that is not taxed.
So the imported portion of your crude, what's the arrangement like? Is it fairer?
So the what we buy is mainly WTI, right? And WTI, there is transparent market price because there's 4 million barrels of WTI being exported every day. So if I don't get from you, there are many other people I can go to. The price is fair. It lands in Nigeria, including transport, at prices that are below the cost of Nigerian crude.
Okay, yesterday when you spoke to us, you said you estimate our daily consumption at 40 million liters per day.
Yeah.
So are you giving Nigerians up to 40 million liters?
So again, I wanted to make a comment yesterday based on the presentation of the NMDPRA, where they said our supply is about 20, right? But I don't think that is accurate. What they showed is offtake. All those months where they were showing 20 million liters, we were sitting on 500 million liters of PMS stock.
You know, I have a problem with your business, personally. Yeah. I think it's not, because you're also exporting finished products, right?
Yeah.
Now, my challenge with you is that if you bought crude from Nigeria in Naira value, not USD,
yes,
and you do not send in-country, the ones we consume from you in-country, if it's not commensurate with the crude we gave to you, I think that is a disservice to this country. And I do not know, I'm coming, and I do not know if the regulator is actually taking cognizance of that. Because it's important to establish that the crude you took from Nigeria, we got commensurate products, even more. Because if you do not do that, it simply means you're shortchanging this country.
So to your point about being interactive,
yes.
Let me answer that. To date, we have sold petroleum products in Naira that exceed the value of Naira crude by 500 billion Naira.
Good. It's an applause to you.
We're actually having a liquidity mismatch.
Good.
Where we are sitting on Naira far in excess of the crude we've received. To supply these products that you've mentioned, right? The 40 million liters of PMS, 14 million liters of diesel, and maybe 2 million liters of jet. We need about 14 cargoes in Naira. Today, at the beginning of this year, up till recently, we're getting 2 Naira cargoes a month. That's a big gap. Recently, it has gone up to about 5 to 6, but still there's a gap. So in fact, the initiative right now, the chairman is looking for a way to resolve this, because otherwise this huge mismatch cannot continue. We're at every point. Now we're at 500 billion. If it continues, only God knows how much.
That man is also trying to speak on the issue of moral, and is applying moral suasion to get you to do this. Do you know who funded your refinery? Where did you get any financier that funded the refinery?
Yes, it was funded by a consortium of international banks.
Sorry?
It was funded, one, by our equity as Dangote Group, and then secondly, by a consortium of international banks.
International banks?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Siri Hart. Now, let us, we're running out of time now. Yes. Please, I would like, where Dangote has spoken, AUPRC, please, what's your own take on this solution on the availability of crude? And please, after that, we're going to need Dr. Billy Harry. We're going to need your own position, Nogasa President, Dapman, and Nupeng, you can say a word too, please, to round up. Go ahead, sir. That's the 1 minute. Thank you.
Thank you. for the NUPRC, as has been alluded to by a lot of the speakers, availability of the crude is not a problem because the crude is being made available for the operators. For instance, we have some months where we have 48 cargoes to go out. When I say cargoes, maybe you're talking about 1 million per cargo. And I can believe from common sense that it's easy that anybody who is an operator and wants to make money ordinarily will sell his crude to anybody who gives him the best offer in terms of willing buyer or whatever, willing seller basis. Yes, sir. So in terms of availability, the crude is here. In terms of the DCSO, the commission is making the crude available. But from my presentation, we have about 89% compliance to the DCSO. Like for the month of April, for instance, the DCSO said we should provide 23 million. We ended up providing 21 million, which is almost close to...
You know why we are asking for these solutions? Just listening to them now. How do you think we can take care of issues like this so that we can avoid conflict? We don't have to worry about mediation.
Okay. The major issue,
in court.
Yes. The major issue here we're talking about is the pricing. Availability is there. Pricing is the issue, the commercial issues. And the commission is not taking it lightly. That was why even in the last discussion, in the last summit with Koran, we told them that we want to invite them so that because somebody made mention of some certain templates that they have that is working for them. Especially when the man from Koran was talking, he talked about the removal of the transportation cost and the rest of it. So they have such templates that are working for some of them. For instance,
have you guys had a roundtable talk regarding this pricing?
We had a lunch discussion with Koran on these issues. And the fallout from that discussion was that we're going to have a workshop.
And how soon would that be?
It will not be, we already started the process in the office.
Okay.
So once that goes through, in the next 3 weeks to 4 weeks, we'll call them for...
Okay, so that's the solution. So we look forward to that, and I want to thank you very much. Please now let's go to Dr. Billy Gies-Harry. Please, let's get your perspective. And please, just in 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Honorable Billy. Personally, I'm very, very thankful to the leadership of the National Assembly for this very laudable program that you've set up, because it is the first of its kind, but it's something that will go a long way to solving so many problems, not just in the downstream, even in the upstream and the midstream. Petron's own situation is not difficult. We have been more or less mediating. We've been in the middle because we serve everybody in Petron. We serve everybody. We buy products from Dangote, we buy from Dapman, we buy from everywhere, and we do what we need to do. Our concern is let us have sufficient crude oil for the local refiners to take and refine. And let those who have the capacity to refine that large quantity design their business in a way that the storage facilities and tank farms that are close to our thousands of retail outlets across the country have access to product so we can be able to buy from anywhere. Because most of my members don't have the capacity to pay for 1 million liters. They probably will be able to pay for 45,000 liters. So the only way we can do that is to buy from the tank farms that are close to us. And so what we have appealed is that the Honorable House, led by your chairman, should intervene in this matter. And actually, there's so much that has been done to bring all of us to the table. And I believe by close of this week, most of all these things would have been resolved. And we'll be able to give Nigerians a better service in terms of the downstream and energy security that is so bandied around. So this is our position. We do not want anybody to be joining in any more serious fight. Legal judgments have never brought solutions in so many areas. The alternative dispute resolution is a good one, but even at that, If businessmen can sit down and fashion out ways and means that we can all know this will work for us, and then of course we can have witnesses like you, like the security, like the government, to be able to mediate, for us at any time there is a breach. We should be able to be successful. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. That man, if you can just throw more light on the union issue in 1 minute. Maybe you want to share that with your NUPENG partner. So we can just round up. Please, before you start, I want the next panelists to be ready for revitalizing Nigerian alien state-owned refineries. So Kelvin Emmanuel will be talking on that. So please, that man, in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the House Committee, for the opportunity to speak once again. I'm going to reiterate the fact that DAPMAN is all for cooperation and collaboration. And this we have been doing, and we're working assiduously, strenuously to ensure that we get the best quality product for all Nigerians at the best prices. So ADR is a good option to resolve disputes, but we'll rather have a situation in which business entrepreneurs behave as gentlemen and adhere strictly to the dictates and provisions of the law. And once that is done, we believe everyone, with all the parameters considered, will have what he wants at the best price possible. We are not interested in quarreling or fighting with anybody. DAPMAN wants a level playing field. That is what we have asked for, that is what we are discussing, and that is what we believe will solve all these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, before we wrap up this session, mine is more like an appeal to everyone who is a player in this industry, beginning from NMPCL to even the consumer and the unions. The reason I want to say this is because I listened to our guy from NMPCL. I love the way he was relaxed, speaking downstream. You will understand he's actually a professional in that field. What I want to appeal is this. We have 203 trillion cubic feet of gas beneath the ground, proven reserve. But we are having queues on CNG. We have Nigerian LNG, where I come from. They have a capacity to do more exports, but today they are doing 50% installed capacity because there is no feedstock to Nigerian LNG. We were at Cape Town, but we have 203 trillion cubic feet of gas lying fallow. The refineries are crying for insufficient products. We have 38 billion barrels of crude lying fallow. At Cape Town, what we are doing here is in the similitude of what happened in Cape Town, the African Energy Week. The take-home of that conversation is like what I would like to share with us. It has become crystal clear that virtually all our neighbors have crude and gas in different proportion. All African countries now have gas and crude. So the competition is going to be very high. As governments, I want to also make the appeal. We are lawmakers, my colleagues are here. What we are doing here is a bottom-top approach. Even though we didn't speak to certain specifics as an executive order on how to get these products off the ground. I'm looking at financing. Financing is a big challenge. That was why I asked the question on financing to Dangote. And he answered me very clearly that they have foreign partners backing their projects. It's not enough to acquire assets. Financing for us to do more exploration for the purpose of energy and also employment. Look at where Qatar is today. We were second at some point, but today look at where Qatar is. They are building about 60, they are commissioning about 68 vessels of LNG. So please, all players, my appeal to us is that whatever further incentive you want, whatever further incentive, yes, I know we have an executive order, but I think it's also not enough. Given the urgency of where we are, that executive order is not enough. We must stimulate the greed, in quotes, of the investor. Look at the LNG experience. I worked in the best project in LNG in Bonny. When they gave them that act, that freedom of 10 years, those investors built 6 trains in the period of 10 years that they had the holiday. 6 trains were built. After the holiday, they didn't build any other train because no further incentive. Today we're on 7th train. So it simply means when government gives more incentives, the investor will leverage on it. We should be in a hurry to bring out this 203 trillion cubic of gas. Today, we are doing just 7.5 billion. That's what we're evacuating from the ground. If you do the maths, it will take this country 78 years to deplete our proven reserves. Same for oil. We should be doing about 3 million barrels. But how can that happen? We must look at that Sani Abacha's model that bettered the NLNG. That incentive that Sani Abacha gave to NLNG that stimulated the great investor for them to do what they do must be replicated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, I want to thank all our panelists at this point. Honorable Ja Omar, NNBPROA representative, Dr. Billy Gilles Harry, Mr. Ben Corey, Mrs. Chinyere Monime, Dangote Rep, Dabma Rep. Thank you very much, everybody. Please, a big round of applause for our panelists. Thank you. We'll yield back.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Moving straight to the next plenary session. Before then, let me appreciate everyone here for their patience, especially the Executive Vice President Downstream of NNPCL and his team. We thank you for your patience. We thank you for still being with us. We are moving straight to the next session, which of course is the Lazarus Project, revitalizing Nigeria's ailing state-owned refineries. This session will examine the state of Nigeria's state-owned refineries and the continuous, often contentious issues of their turnaround maintenance. The discussion will explore the billions of dollars spent on these facilities with little or no results, the challenges of political interference and poor management, and its suggested way forward. The panel will also consider the viability of these refineries in an era of private sector dominance and their potential role in a liberalized market. To do justice to this topic, I will invite Mr. Kelvin Emmanuel. And of course, the panelists are Honorable Bellamy Midalla, who will be the moderator, Honorable Seso Ikaga, Port Harcourt Refinery, NNDPRA, Pengastan, Dapman, and of course, Mr. Kelvin himself. And I don't think Honorable Bellamy is here. Honorable Bellamy is not here. Mr. Chairman, I hope I have your permission to invite Honorable Awaji Nombek Dagomie Abiante to please moderate this session. Thank you very much, sir. Before I hand over the microphone to Mr. Kelvin, may I invite the moderator to please make a little remark.
Thank you very much, my chairman, for another task today. I want to appreciate all of us for taking time to bring our own thoughts, our own opinions, our own suggestions, so that we will have a better Nigeria for today and for tomorrow. We have been asked to consider the Lazarus Project. For those of you who read the Holy Book, I think this Lazarus is the one that is recorded in the Holy Book, who died and was resurrected. Let us see how we resurrect this Lazarus today. Members of the panel, please take your seats. Kelvin, sir? Give us the background. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. Before I go on, I'm going to briefly respond to some of the sessions that we've had today. I'll first respond to NUPRC on domestic crude supply obligations. And Nigeria has 34 blends of crude. 34 blends.
Sorry, sir. I think I omitted one very important panelist here, Port Harcourt Refinery. Kevin, go ahead.
I want to thank the chairman of the committee for the privilege to be here. I want to thank the deputy chairman and all the distinguished members of the House of Representatives that are here, and the speaker, who is the chief host of this occasion. I was saying that Nigeria has 34 blends of crude, and in response to what NUPRC says on willing buyer, willing seller in sections 109 of the PIA, and sections 109.2 of the PIA that says that subject to regulatory guidelines as provided by the upstream regulator. On a blend, domestic crude refiners are made to pay a difference of $1.62. On USAN, they pay $3.62. On EA blend, they pay $5.87 as commission. So if Dangote, for example, is buying 7.5 million barrels of crude, for example, in Nigeria, that is 7.5 million barrels times these figures, $5.87 for EA blend. And he has to figure a way to add that to his premium, considering that when you look at Platts, you multiply the price of PMS per metric ton by the exchange rates divided by 1,341 liters, is selling below Platts to the Nigerian markets. And this is also to the question Honorable Cyril asked about the value attribution when you convert crude oil sold under Naira-based crude swap to what is actually supplied to the Nigerian markets.
Kelvin, sorry, sir. You are indirectly taking us back to our previous panel. What we are here to do, sir, this panel, is to see if there is a Lazarus anywhere, and if that Lazarus can behave like the Lazarus of the Bible.
I'm diving right
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
We can go back to the way we are done, so that you don't waste our efforts at resurrecting Lazarus. We want to see if there's a Lazarus. And if there's a Lazarus, we must resurrect that Lazarus. So if you take our time going back to Dangote, and we may not be able to find the Lazarus, talk about resurrecting the Lazarus. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. I won't bore you with the fact that 445,000 barrels per day is installed domestic crude capacity. During that, for the last 30 years, NNPC has demonstrated failure in revamping the government-owned refineries and in actually investing in building brand new refineries. The results are there to speak. They failed. You can imagine in 6 years, you borrowed $2.9 billion and you don't have anything to show for it.
Sorry, Kevin, let me come in. I don't want us to deviate from the whole essence of the Downstream Week, which is, as I discussed with Chuma on this particular topic. There have been challenges in the past. We accept that. But why we are here is, what are the successes we have made? What are the challenges we have? And what is the way forward?
Thank you.
And this panel is to consider the viabilities of this refinery in an era of private sector dominance and their potentials in a liberalized market. So at the end of this gathering, the committee can go back and use these recommendations and knowledge that were acquired to be able to strengthen the downstream sector, so that we don't delve into things that may become contentious here, taking away from us our quest as lawmakers to get first-hand information that will help us in formulating legislations that will deepen the downstream sector. I just felt I needed to
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
direct.
Mr. Chairman, in understanding...
Kelvin, so that you can also give them opportunity to make their own inputs. Maybe if you can round up in the next 5 minutes. I know what you are trying to do was to help us know and find out how Lazarus died, if actually he died. You're only trying to let us know how Lazarus died, so that if we are going to attempt to resurrect Lazarus, we will know what kind of medications to apply. So we understand. Let us, so that they can, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, you see, in talking about the present and the future, today, 72% of the petrol consumed in Nigeria are controlled by the marketers. Dangote is controlling like 28% of that supply. The CNG trucks is to get penetration and more direct access to the retail station owners around Nigeria. We came from oil processing agreements, crude oil swaps, to DSDP, to vendor financing program. But there are some important points based on the PIA that I want to bring out, that I think NMDPRA as a mid and downstream regulator needs to pay attention to ensure that you have a more strengthened midstream and downstream sector. Because up until last year, Nigeria didn't have a midstream refining sector. Dangote altered the game of play where Nigeria was not sure of its daily consumption.
Kelvin, maybe we'll invite you to give us further lectures.
I'm rounding up.
The focus of this is...
You gave me 5 minutes. I'm going somewhere.
And you are also taking us you're taking us out. The focus of this very panel is, was there a Lazarus? Let us see the Lazarus. What killed the Lazarus? Can that Lazarus come back to life? When you stretch it further, you are going to... Please, we know you are an expert in this area.
Give me 3 minutes and I'll round up.
Thank you.
Please. Today, right, what are the challenges that the sector faces? The sector faces supply of crude oil feedstock. OPAC, Koran, Dangote has outlined the issues on sections 109. I don't want to rehash those issues. But crude oil feedstock supply and codifying in the PIA in any future amendments that the regulator needs to create regulation to guide the willing buyer, willing seller clause is very important. Number two,
thank you very much. Kelvin, thank you very much. You have made your point. Now, to the issues of the Lazarus. NMPC, you have had a direct accusation that you supervised the death of a Lazarus. And that, did any Lazarus die, sir? Let us start from that point.
Are we there? Fortunately, I was not there when the fight with Lazarus was conducted. So my comments on that are very, very minimal. Again, Kelvin, thank you very much for your energy. It's interesting. It's always good to get good energy like that. But I think sometimes information and clarity needs to be more focused. So I think that's what I would say. Unfortunately, sir, I would love to answer where Lazarus died and how he died, but I was not part of that biblical period.
So the fact remains that we used to have 4 refineries, 2 in Port Harcourt, 1 in Warri. Are those refineries still there?
Yes, sir. In terms of refineries, we have 4 refineries. We actually have 3 refineries. Let's clarify this. The 3 refineries, just to be clear, the initial refinery in Port Harcourt was a 60,000.
Go ahead, sir.
Was a 60,000. and then they added 150,000. That's why people refer to it as 2 refineries. But let us be clear, this is 1 refinery, 210,000 barrel refinery. It just happened to come at different periods. That's the clarity on that. Even we ourselves sometimes refer to it as Old Port Harcourt Refinery and New Port Harcourt Refinery, right? Yes, but it's all tied together. So it's actually 3 refineries. Let's be clear. Then we have the one in Kaduna, of course, that has been there for a very long time, and then the one in Warri. So we have 3 refineries.
As of today, the refineries are not working, we believe.
Correct. So the Port Harcourt refinery, let's talk about the Port Harcourt refinery. I mentioned this earlier when we were talking about, and the one word that we'll always use is sustainability, right? I want to make sure that, as we've always talked about, we are going into a new era of the downstream. We're going into a new era for energy availability for our people. So what we need to make sure is that we have a sustainable energy source, right? So the refinery, as it is the reason we shut it down was for 2 things. One, to ensure that we do a complete, because we have just come on board, we want to be sure that by the time we present this refinery, it is sustainable for the next 20 years and so on and so forth, right? It's a very old refinery. But we want to be ensured that it is sustainable. This is the one watchword that we will continue to drive, and it creates value for this country. Second point. If I go back to context that I talked about earlier, this refinery was not necessarily delivered at that time for a commercial value. It was delivered at that time for it to be able to produce crude, process crude produced in Nigeria. So the concept at that time was completely different. Today we're talking about commercial viability. So we need to make sure that the maximum value for the Nigerian people is derived from this refinery. Right now, that was not the situation that we found. And we said, so for those 2 reasons, 1, to ensure sustainability, and 2, to review the actual value that is coming out of this. And what I mean by value is that you need to, it's like taking something and squeezing it.
We face the problem of moving product crude to that place. How are we going to transmit crude to that refinery after we have put in so much money turning it around? So the distance and everything, the viability of that is what really we need to meet the professionals so that they can explain that for us to understand.
So you are painting it as the option of the devil and the deep blue sea. So you are not prepared to hold the gate enough so that Nigerians will begin to clap for you. But you have the opinion that...
I was about to get there.
Okay.
Like the Petrobras refinery in Abu Dhabi. It was recently auctioned. That's a 328 barrels per day refinery. Just about $1.6 billion. That's how much they auctioned that refinery. That have a bigger capacity than what we have. Just about 1.6 billion. Then we are turning we have used over 18 billion to turn our refineries around. It doesn't really make sense. It's difficult to add up.
Okay. Kelvin, you have listened to all of us. We have also listened to you. There are issues. There are challenges. Yes, we need to be at the point where we can beat our chest and say, yes, we're energy secured. And getting to that point, we're also being very careful not to abandon our faith into the hands of just 1 or 2 persons. It was part of what we discussed yesterday. Now, if these refineries can come back to life, it means that there is an alternative. There will be an alternative. Government could still decide to say we'll hold controlling shares or we will divest. It will now begin to enable us conform essentially to Section 16, Sub 2C of the Constitution. What is your take as an energy expert? Just yes, no, and we move on from that point.
Thank you very much, sir. You know, the sunk cost fallacy that we think, because we spent so much money, $18 billion in the last 25 years, about $2.9 billion in the last 6 years. Currently, in the daily crude allocation, NNPC the government has about 300,000 barrels that goes to servicing existing sale agreements. And refinery rehabilitation maintenance is part of what contributed to that 300,000 barrels daily, of about 780 to 800,000 barrels that the government gets as a JV partner with the operators, as a concessionaire. So it's sunk cost fallacy because NNPC refineries are not going concerns. So the better question we should ask is, why are you so attached to these aging assets? Why don't you build new refineries?
You are not answering the question. And we are not allowing you to bring in your own question. We just asked you. Given all of this, there has to be a balance. We must ensure that everything is not in the hands of maybe 1 or 2, 3 private individuals. Do you think? You just give us your opinion.
NNPC should build new refineries and compete. They should.
Nupeng, you were part of the discourse yesterday. We had this argument that it is not very wise to concentrate our energy security in the hands of 1 or 2. This is an option. What do you think?
I think we should look at a new operational model and ownership of this refinery, especially Warri and Port Harcourt, because it will help us a lot. It will dilute the issue of concentrating our energy security in one person. The more, the better for this country, including exporting whatever is produced. Even co-locating, even if they said the infrastructure there are out model, the location is good for this country. And we shouldn't just throw away the baby and the bathwater.
So you are in support of reviving it?
We should also be sincere. The problem is about corruption. It's not about those assets. It's about how we are approaching those assets. So if we are sincere, really sincere, and we are patriotic enough, what we bring out those 2 refineries especially is not as much as what they've been taunting around. Sincerity is the key.
Thank you very much.
It's not those assets, sir.
That man, do you agree that... That man, to what extent do you agree that we can turn it around, probably having a different model to manage it and then being a lot more transparent? Because what I find is there seems to be a level of trust deficit somewhere.
I want to believe the experts who have said that they can be turned around. And with sincerity of purpose, devoid of corruption, we should be able to get them back.
Midstream, downstream, your final thoughts?
I think they can be turned around. And just like I said earlier, the approach has to be different. We had been on turnaround maintenance activities for a while over these refineries. We need to investigate or interrogate the procedures that we deploy in carrying out these exercises. And I think that is where we got it wrong. We need to interrogate that and get it right.
Honorable Sego, you heard him talk about interrogate the process, interrogate the system, probably interrogate the cost as well. As a legislator, do you think that you still have that time, still have the energy to further interrogate the process, the system, and the cost?
I think it was sometime this year before we went on recess. A motion like that was moved in the House and was referred to this committee. And so I don't want to preempt the work of the committee on that.
The matter is already before the committee.
The matter is
There is
before
no
the
need to
committee.
preempt the committee.
Yes.
No need to preempt the outcome as well.
Yeah.
NNPC, if it is democracy, the opinion most popular is we don't have to throw it away. If it is democracy, I had to sample from the members of the panel. Now, the thinking is we must get it back. What new ideas? You always talk about concept and context. What new concepts do we need to bring on board to guarantee that, yes, in the energy mix, not in terms of type, but in terms of who produces the same thing in that basket? Talking about the PMS, the AGO, and all of that. We have a new hand, apart from the Dangotes that has taken over and is the signpost of our achievement in this area. What new concepts do you think can be applicable to ensure that we don't waste or lose all the efforts that we are putting over the years.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I think in very simple terms, like I mentioned, this context around this is today we're a commercially driven company, right? Our responsibilities, we have no recourse to federal funds. We have to make sure that we are self-sufficient as NNPC Limited. So our approach is exactly that. And everything you're saying is that the reason why we shut this down, and I'm waiting, and I was hoping Kelvin will first and foremost say, you know, he wants to congratulate this new team for taking the responsibility of shutting it down, right? To make sure that we interrogate entirely what the value proposition of these refineries are, which is exactly the question that you have asked us. So the way we talk today is purely about commercialization and value to the Nigerian people, right? That's what we're interested in. We're not interested in sentiment. If you remember, I said earlier, there is no sentiment here. Sentiment, unfortunately, has the numbers that they have thrown around. Maybe that's the reason why sentiment has made us to continue to continue to throw money into these projects. However, today's concept and today's NNPC Limited is entirely driven by value to the people and commercialization, so that in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years' time, there is a value that you can see. It's a P&L. It's a value-driven operation, and that's what we're doing. And that's exactly where we're going towards creating, and that's what I have been doing for the last 3 months, by the way, right? I have traveled to, I think, 11 countries. I don't know how many refineries I've been to. I don't know how many meetings I've had on this project. And it's all about changing the concept of where we are. And we're also, as much as I don't want to spend too much time going back, the reality is we need to go back and look at how were these assets looked after in the last 30, 40 years. There's something that is very, very fundamental. It's called preservation, right? When you shut down a refinery, you have to preserve it. You have to inject nitrogen and all those sort of things into this. None of that was done, right? So we're not going to sit here and try to defend. And, you know, again, Kelvin, I'd love to sit with you. Great energy, fantastic. But sometimes, you know, we need to look about going forward, right? So that whole concept about coming in and talking these numbers and stuff, there's a logic behind that. And you know, your numbers I won't argue with, but I think we need to really understand that. So thank you.
NNPC, you're addressing us, you're not addressing Kelvin. Maybe you
Sorry, sir?
You're addressing us and not
Kelvin.
No,
I just love his energy, sir. I love his energy, so I was just making him an exception. But yes, just addressing everybody. I think that's what we're doing. So I think you will clearly see in the weeks and months ahead, the amount of energy and work that we have put into this is very different, I think, from the concept that was used before. Thank you.
Our take-home is you are giving us a commitment that whatever it is that may have led to the issues of yesterday, your focus today is different. Are there timelines that you want Nigerians to hold you on to? Say, give us this number of days, give us this number of months, and you will see a difference in what it has always been. But before you get to that, I think the chairman wants to say a few things. Chairman, sir. So that.
Thank you, Chairman. Let me appreciate the panelists and Kevin and our special guest. But also, let me make this clear, because in the last few weeks and months, we have been working closely with the NNPC as it has to do with efforts aimed at ensuring that the issues that were done the refineries in the past does not happen again. Yes, I may not speak for what happened in the past, but with the daily briefing that we receive from the corporation, especially from the downstream unit, about efforts that the corporation is taking in reforming the process, the way, and how to achieve sustainability as it has to do with the refining process, is convincing for us, and that is why we said we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them unfold those process that is ongoing, so that at the end of the day, we'll be in a position to say, okay, it's fine or it's not fine. But unlike in the past, when we have been kept in the dark on activities that have been going on, this new leadership has kept us informed on what they are doing, and all the effort and the travels all over the world to ensure that the best decision is made as it has to do with the refinery. And they're not spending any money or doing anything. They just want to find out what is the situation of things and what can be done to find a sustainable solution. And on that note, I would want to commend the leadership of the NNPC for what they are doing, and also the EVP Downstream for keeping us informed at every stage. And our relationship officer has also kept us informed on every happening on a weekly basis. And that is why those misgivings and mistrusts have not existed between the committee and them, because at every situation we know where they are and the effort they are taking to ensure that we move away from the past to a new dawn that will provide that sustainability in the refining process. Thank you.
Thank you, my chairman. So, over to you. Do Nigerians have the belief, the faith, the trust that we can hold you by what you have just told all of us today? And is there any timeline? It's okay. By the time you get us back in the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 1 year, things must have indeed turned around. The Lazarus must have been walking, jumping, and probably running.
Thank you, sir. This Lazarus we'll discuss later. Anyways, no, I think I'll just go back to what the chairman has said quite clearly. We are keeping the committee informed at all times. I think this is a very difficult process. Let us be honest. We're not going to make sound as if it's easy. We're coming from a different approach. So even trying to understand the previous approaches has taken us a lot of time. Going forward, we are putting together plans on what is the best option forward, right? And that takes time. But I'm not going to sit here and say to you 2 weeks or 3 weeks. What I will say to you is we will continue to work with the committee, continue to give the updates that we are giving. But one thing that we must leave here with is that the effort that we're putting in today is geared towards commercialization, sustainability, and value to this country. That's what we're doing. And this thing takes time. Right? We're talking about a 50-year refinery. You're not going to come in and be able to give an answer, oh, by tomorrow, I'll turn the key again and it will be working. If I turn the key tomorrow, it will work. But do you want that? Do I need to come and now explain to you, oh, you're not getting the best value out of this? And then that now becomes a different conversation, right? So let's make sure that, give us the time. We have put in every single energy that we have into this because we understand the responsibility, the mandate that we have for energy security, the inclusion, and that we have to be in every sector of the energy sector in this country. Every aspect of this energy sector, NNPC Limited has to be in. So that's what we'll do. We'll keep you informed and we'll continue to drive the process as we have been doing.
Thank you very much, members of the panel. At least our take-home is there is still hope that the Lazarus will still be alive. Thank you very much, Chairman, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. The moderator and other panelists, we thank you very much for your efforts. Moving on quickly. Mr. Chairman, with your kind permission, we will take remark from NATO, after which trade unions will present their memoranda, and of course, closing remarks, and we'll call it a day. Permit me at this point to invite Malam Yusuf Lawal Uthman, NATO President at the Nigeria Association of Road Transport Owners, for their remark. Briefly, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, sir. Okay, Mr. Chairman, sir. On behalf of the leadership of the Nigeria Association of Road Transport Owners, NATO, we want to appreciate the Honorable Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, as well as the Honorable Chair of this Honorable House, other distinguished members of this Honorable House, panelists, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of NATO, we want to key into the theme of this conference or meeting, which is celebrating our successes, confronting our challenges, and finding solutions for the petroleum downstream sector. Now, I must confess, as far as NATO is concerned, we celebrate Dangote Refinery for a very laudable effort in spending a lot of money in this sector and ensuring that fuel is available in the country. But at the same time, in celebrating this success, we felt that there are certain areas that need to be considered, and those areas are areas of high significance. I want to bring the attention of this House that as of today, fuel is distributed 100% by trucks. That is to say, these trucks are owned by certain people who call it investment. Therefore, every investment, as we see and know, deserves certain amount of return. Therefore, our members spread across all corners of this country are doing this business with certain return in the business. Here we are today, about 30,000 trucks running across the country, serving from Calabar Depot to Embarrass of Calabar and Northeast, serving from Port Harcourt Depot to Southeast, serving from Cocoa and Warri Depot to North Central, serving from Lagos to Southwest and Northwest. Now, the PIA Act is very clear. The petroleum industry is divided into three sectors: upstream, midstream, and downstream. The Dangote refinery, as we know today, is in the midstream of the petroleum industry. Therefore, some of us who are in the downstream felt that Section 212 is very clear that the distribution of petroleum product by the Dangote refinery contravenes Section 212 of the PIA Act. I stand to be corrected. And we are very happy that we are in the National Assembly, who are the custodians and makers of law. And we felt that such act should be respected, irrespective of whose ox is God. In this case, therefore, we felt that as much as we appreciate the injection of 4,000 trucks, we take this injection of 4,000 trucks should be considered as complementary, not an effort to eradicate the existing 30,000 trucks. In any case, the 4,000 trucks, even if we give way, will not be able to meet the demand of the country. Therefore, a vacuum will naturally be created. And to some people who keep saying about CNG trucks, I personally have CNG trucks. There is nothing so special about having CNG trucks. It's not a big deal. And the presumed subsidy or whatever, or reduction in cost in terms of operation is not as much as propagated by so-called experts. I am not an expert. I am an operator. It's not so much as propagated. So there's no much big deal about running for CNG trucks. So I want to use the opportunity given here to call this honorable House and appreciate the fact that we are all Nigerians operating in Nigeria. Fuel distribution in this country is strategically made in such a way that it's distributed without pain. I don't want to believe loading from one corridor to the whole corners of this country is good for energy security, is good for the safety of the country. Here we are today, we have some little fuel supply issues. Why? Because there are certain industrial issues and whatever from one corner. There is need for this honorable House to appreciate the fact that we need to continue, one, to ensure that there is a reasonable level of distribution of wealth across all strata. There is reasonable level of keeping business across all the corners of the country. There is also reasonable level of energy security. At the same time, finally, I will appreciate that I'm going to call on, I would appreciate the fact that we should all have an opportunity to work and coexist harmoniously for the benefit of the country and for the benefit of Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nato. Moving on quickly, Mr. Chairman, we'll go straight to presentation of memoranda of issues and concern by downstream trade unions. May I at this point invite Nupeng, Petran, Nogasa, Dapman, Kuran, and NGA.
Committee and other distinguished members of the committee, all protocol duly observed. My name is Comrade Afolabi Olawale. I'm the General Secretary of Nupeng. On behalf of the leadership and members of my union, I came to present this memorandum to the House. I will present the hard copy to the committee for your work. Briefly, within the short period given to me, we all know the definition and the reason for trade union all over the world. Our key motivation for forming trade unions include the advancement and protection of job interests, collective bargaining and social dialogue with other social partners like the employers, the government, and the communities. It's also our responsibility to ensure job security for our members, improve their working condition, resolve conflict amongst the members, and we also advocate for socio-economic and political advancements of the country as a whole. We also grant solidarity and mutual support. The first trade union in Nigeria was in 1912 by a civil service union. These were the front runner in the struggle to secure independence for this country. We should not forget the tireless and sacrifices with blood and sweat of the founding fathers of trade union movement in Nigeria. I will not bore you further with the history, but in 1977, there was restructuring of trade union in Nigeria. There were over 800 house unions before. But for union administration, it was restructured to 42. And when the government restructured it, it was clearly specified the jurisdictional scope of each of the industrial unions. In Nigeria, the right to unionize is firmly anchored in law. Section 40 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, guarantees every citizen of this country the right to freedom of association, including political party, trade union, and all what's not. ILO Convention, number 87 and 98, which Nigeria as a country ratifies, guarantee the right to freedom of association, freedom to organize, and freedom to negotiate collectively. Number 3, which is the third leg of the law on which we are anchoring. Trade Union Act, Cap T14, LFN 2004, provides the regulatory framework with the third schedule, specifically listing the registered industrial unions and their jurisdictional scope in Nigeria. Why do we even need trade unions in this country? Why do we need trade union at all? I've mentioned our historical struggle for independence. No other organization can stand up and claim credit. It's trade union. Aside that, all of you seated here that are workers, your weekend freedom was fought for by trade union. The 8-hour work you are doing per day was a struggle of trade union. end of child labor is fought by trade union. Occupational safety by trade union. Minimum wage by trade union. Employer-provided benefit and protection from discrimination is by trade union. So, we really need trade union. The trade union transformed the modern workplaces from slavery and exploitation as they were in the plantations to the modern way you are working, where you are respected and where you are recognized. In this country, let me say it with confidence, that no one should forget or pretend to forget the historical and legendary struggle of both Nupeng and Pengassan against the military for the restoration of our democracy. It is this same democracy that brought all of us together here under the same one roof. Let's salute the courage, sacrifices, and the sweat of Nupeng and Pengassan. What are the mandates of Nupeng? Legal structure and history. Nupeng has suffered so much, outsourcing, casualization, resistance by employers. But yet, we kept on the struggle. The jurisdictional scope of union in Nigeria is defined by statutory law, specifically in Part B of third schedule to the Trade Union Act. This schedule confers upon Nupeng jurisdiction over junior and middle-level workers engaged in the entire oil and gas industry, including exploration, production, pipeline, refining, distribution, and marketing of petroleum and natural gases across this country, and other related activities, such as the petrol tanker drivers and even the petrol station workers. Our constitution is stated there because, as you know, we have our constitution, we are registered, we are recognized by the law, and our constitutions are duly approved by Registrar of Trade Union in the Ministry of Labor and Employment. We have, every year, our finances are audited. Thank you. To this paper, we are focusing on the downstream sector. In the downstream sector, we have so many of our members. We have members that work with DAPMAN. We have members that work with MOMAN. We have service tank kerosene dealer. Those are the ones that sell kerosene in the far remote villages. We have those who are selling gas in those remote places as well. We have petrol tanker drivers. We have the employees of the IPMANs as well as members. So therefore, we are well covered as union, guaranteed by the law to be in the downstream sector. So what is our problem with Dangote? Our problem with Dangote stems from the anti-union stance of Dangote. The leadership and members of our union commend the courage, the initiative, and the patriotism of Alhaji Aliko Dangote in setting up Dangote Refinery and Petrochemical Company in Nigeria. Indeed, Nupeng was one of the first stakeholders to congratulate him, and we paid him solidarity visit. Even when he was having teething problem and engagement and conflict with others, we showed solidarity to Alhaji Aliko Dangote. We wrote in the newspaper, we made publications. Unfortunately, what happened thereafter? It's also on record that the refinery, Dangote Refinery and Petrochemical, started operation last year. When I said operation, they started putting out their product to the market last year. We had this understanding, and we made available our members, who are not direct employees of Dangote, the tanker drivers, to ensure that the storage of the production were not overflowing, that every product produced were being evacuated on a daily basis. Our members work day, night. Unfortunately, on the 14th of June 2025, it was announced by Dangote that he was bringing in CNG trucks
to be delivering products free of charge to all filling stations. Generally, public saluted him, they were celebrating. But we immediately made an announcement that this was a great gift to Nigerians. Because the announcement raised critical concern to us and questions. What are the fate of those petrol tanker drivers that have been serving this Dangote refinery for the past 18 months and have been serving Nigerians for more than 5 decades? What happened to them when CNG trucks were brought in? Is it lawful for employer to resist unionization of the workers? Because when we met him on the 23rd of June, we were told that he would not allow union to operate in his refinery. Then the question is, what happened to Nupeng and its members? Then what happened to the owners of the trucks that are in existence now? The question again is, even if we are transiting to a cleaner, more sustainable form of energy, like the CNG buses, it ought to be inclusive, it ought to be fair, it ought to be just to everybody. You don't come in and throw every other person under the bus. The response we got was court cases, and there was also this act, which is misleading to the general public, which I need to correct here. That of the NEPSA Act versus the constitutional and ILO rights. The NEPSA Act they are putting around is in section 18, subsection 5 of the NEPSA Act, which states, listen please, there shall be no strikes or lockout for a period of 10 years following the commencement of operation within a zone, that's a free trade zone, and any trade dispute arising within a zone shall be resolved by the authority. However, the legal position is different and is more nuanced than that. The NEPSA Act provision are subordinate to the fundamental conventions of International Labour Organization, ILO. Specifically, Convention 87 and 98, which guarantee rights to freedom of association and collective bargaining. These conventions, ratified by Nigeria, are recognized as constitutional rights under Section 254C, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The ILO Committee of Experts has consistently affirmed that recognition of strike are lawful. Therefore, any statutory provision that attempts to prohibit such rights is inconsistent with constitutional guarantees. Furthermore, Section 4E of the NEPSA, which deals with resolution of trade dispute, does not prohibit existence of trade union. Its scope is limited to resolving employment-related issues affecting individual employees and does not extend to collective labor disputes, which are governed by Trade Dispute Act. So we asked the committee, the honorable members, about our proposals. There are some laws that we feel that should be abrogated from our statute book. One of them is Petroleum Production and Distribution Anti-Sabotage Act, Cap P12, Law of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. One singular draconian law that characterizes the deprivation of fundamental rights of oil workers in particular. This is the Petroleum Production and Distribution Act, Anti-Sabotage, Cap P12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. This law criminalizes what it terms sabotage. Any form of strike action by worker can then easily pass for sabotage, considering the definition of the scope of the meaning of sabotage under the Act. This is because under the Act, any form of interruption in the process of production or distribution of petroleum product qualifies for sabotage,
President.
which is punishable.
President.
General Secretary, sir.
Economy of time. We would like
Okay,
you to
I will
round
rush.
up.
I will
But
rush.
what did they call that law again?
And production, Petroleum Production and Distribution Anti-Sabotage Act, Cap P12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. This law criminalizes any form of action, whatever. So even if that means that we don't have the right to engage the employer and to withdraw our services. So this law, we are asking that it should be abrogated because it also contradicts other sections of the Constitution. It also contradicts the convention that we ratify as a country. But of course, so far, this legislation has not been fully applied. But we don't want a situation where the state will just decide one morning and feel strong enough to start applying it. So we are asking that the mere existence of the act is a threat to the existence of fundamental right of peaceful action guaranteed under the Constitution. The next one is that we urge the National Assembly to initiate a law that guarantees decent work agenda that will make employers, private employment agencies, and all other operators and contractors in oil and gas industry to be bound by the ILO fundamental rights at work. Article 1112 of the C18 Private Employment Agency Convention, 1997, number 181, make this obligation very clear. To Nigeria, a member shall in accordance, Nigeria is a member shall in accordance with national law and practice take necessary measure to ensure adequate protection for workers employed by private employment agencies as described in Article 1, Paragraph 1b above in relation to 1. Freedom of association, freedom to collective bargaining, minimum wage, working time, and other working conditions, statutory social security benefits, access to training, occupational safety and health, compensation in case of occupational accident or disease, compensation in case of insolvency and protection of workers' claim, maternity protection and benefit, and parental protection and benefit. These are all stated in ILO Convention, which Nigeria ratifies. So we are not asking you, honorable member, to do anything outside it. Thank you, sir. And there have been so many judgments by National Industrial Court, which have become a reference point. The demand we are making is in line with 1999 Constitution, Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended in Section 40. Every person shall be entitled to assemble freely and associate with other persons, and in particular, he may form or belong to any political party, trade union, or any other association for the protection of his interests. The National Industrial Court has put the position of the law pugently in Nestor Oil PLC versus NUPENG, Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, 2012. 29 NLR PT 8290 at 155. Paragraph C to 5, C to F as follows. As far as our law is concerned, junior workers are deemed to be members of union until they individually and in writing opt not to be. They are deemed, meaning that automatically once you are employed as a junior worker or as a middle worker, you are a member of the union in that establishment. You can opt out. But once you are given letter of employment, you are automatically a member. Your union use checkup is automatic. But you have the freedom to opt out by writing, I don't want to belong to this union again. But then, you don't have opportunity of belonging to any other union because of the jurisdictional scope. which is clear in our law. However, for senior staff, why senior staff are deemed not to be members until they individually and in writing opt to be member. This means that in truth, if the defendant is the proper union to unionize junior worker of the defendant, the question of having them to agree or express their interest before they join the union will not arise. So, any establishment, Afolabi Oil and Gas, anybody I employ is deemed as a junior worker or as a middle level is automatically a member. And there are several court cases which can be cited, but because of time, I will leave the matter with the members of the committee that what we were requesting for...
General Secretary,
yes,
please,
sir.
Please. I think just go to your conclusion in 30 seconds.
I will do that. I have concluded.
We would like to see that so that we can peruse.
So in conclusion, what we did in Dangote wasn't a crime. It was lawful. It was legitimate. And I want to put this finally, that I would like to reiterate once again, that no one should forget or pretend to forget the historical and legendary struggle of Nupeng and Pengasson against the military for the restoration of our democracy. The same democracy that brought all of us here together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next is Petron. Are they here? Petron? Okay. Nogasa. Nogasa? No. Dapman.
Nogasa.
The committee will appreciate if you can go straight to the issue.
On petroleum downstream, honorable members of the committee, once again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity given to Dapman to speak to current issues pertaining to the downstream petroleum sector. And as you have pleaded, and as I'm ready to do, I'll just pick the salient points because I'm going to hand over the hard copy of this document to you. And as a preamble, I'd like to say that I speak on behalf of the Depot and Petroleum Products. By the way, I'm Olufemi Adebayo Adewale, Executive Secretary of DAPMAN. On behalf of the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN, I'd like to congratulate the House of Representatives Committee on Downstream and all participating stakeholders in the sector on this Downstream Week celebrations, and also express DAPMAN's appreciation to the Chairman and honorable members of the House Committee for this invitation and opportunity to further express our views on issues which we feel require urgent intervention to avert and stave off any likely negative impact on this sector's nation, on the sector and the nation's economy. We already know of the strength of DAPMAN. We have over 2 million metric ton storage capacity. We have over 1,500 retail outlets nationwide. We have investments in the CNG, skids, and daughter stations, trucks, and so on. And specifically, I'd like to state that the importation of whatever number of CNG trucks is not a problem to DAPMAN. It's not a problem to DAPMAN. Rather, it will complement our logistics in the system, but we want a situation in which every cost is recovered for those who are existing in the business and for those who will come into the business, let their costs be recovered. So a situation in which somebody brings in trucks and they are allowed to convey product free to any retail outlet is not welcomed by DAPMAN. So we welcome the trucks because even our own members have brought in trucks like that. We are asking for a level playing field, just like in the speech I delivered on behalf of my chairman yesterday, a level playing field for all, fairness for all, so that everyone in the sector from the refiners to the depot storage owners to the retail outlet owners to the truckers can recover their costs. And a key part of our comment is that concentrating distribution to one location in the country is not safe. I don't want to go into the details right now because I can tell you for free that we have been discussing with the management of Dangote Refinery, and we're still discussing, and we believe that these discussions will be fruitful. But concentrating loading for over 30,000 retail outlets in one location in the country is not safe. As we heard yesterday, it is more economical for some areas to be supplied. I mean, for instance, you're going to Borno, you're going to Gongola, Maiduguri, it's better to be supplied through a depot that has received its own supply stock by vessel in Calabar and go on to Sokoto or Gongola access. While for Lagos area, we still have people who are members who can pick product from Dangote Refinery. There's no anger to that. We would just like to highlight some sections of the law. Section 72(1) of the FCCPA provides any undertaking that has a dominant position of market power shall not abuse that power by engaging in conduct that amounts to exploitation of consumers or other undertakings in the market. Section 72(2) FCCPA goes further to prohibit conduct which include a charging of an excessive price to the detriment. Excessive price could be higher or lower. A charging of an excessive price to the detriment of consumers. B, refusing to supply scarce goods to a competitor. C, engaging in exclusionary acts or practices. We have a situation in which not all DAPMA members have access to product from our refinery here. In addition, Section 88(1) of FCCPA provides the Commission may prohibit any agreement, decision, or concerted practice which has in its objective or effect the prevention, restriction, or distortion of competition in any market. In conclusion, dear honorable members and other distinguished stakeholders at this Petroleum Downstream Week celebrations, concentrating the wholesale supply of almost 30,000 retail petrol stations nationwide and all industrial users in one location, notwithstanding the installed capacity of the refinery, is not a strategically sensible option. DAPMA therefore implores this committee to exercise its oversight powers to review the practices of all operators in the petroleum downstream sector against the provisions of the PIA and FCCPA 2018. Our intentions in DAPMAN is, in collaboration with all other stakeholders and all operators of the various segments of the value chain, to ensure quality fuels are made available in all nooks and crannies of the nation at affordable prices, while assuring reasonable returns on our investments and ensuring good corporate governance of tax payment into the coffers of the federal and state governments from whichever location where we're cited. Once again, and in conclusion, DAPMAN is appreciative of this opportunity to express our opinion of the recent happenings in the sector, and we appeal to the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, through this distinguished committee to do the needful and ensure that PIA 2021 and FCCPA 2018 are implemented to the letter and are adhered to by all operators. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DAPMAN. The committee will also appreciate if you can make submission, present the hard copy to the chairman. Thank you very much. Next is Nogasa.
Honorable members of the House Committee and members of the audience. This is Nogasa, Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria. My name is Tunde David, Secretary General of the association. I have a presentation by the association which we are going to give the hard copy, like others, to the committee. So I won't take more than a minute. I just want to quickly say one or two things. First of all, we want to appreciate the committee and the packaging of this particular program. It's been very long in coming. And we are already seeing the results of such a positive innovation like this, even from day one of this event. It's so wonderful, and it's already getting results. We also want to seek that there should be more interaction, just like this one, not only from the House Committee, but even from the regulators, because they are closer to the other practitioners in the industry, and there is need for us to do that. We commend the NMDPRA for what they've been doing, and we really, really appreciate your efforts, and we pray that you get more grease to your elbows. Before I drop this, paper, actually, we have a lot of issues and concerns, that we really want to present to the government through the committee. Issues of pricing and market stability, issues of access to forex and import launches, challenges, issues of, some of them have been discussed even yesterday, infrastructure deficits, and regulatory policies and other inconsistencies. Several of these things have been discussed, so we will not take your time. Labor and welfare issues were also discussed by Nopeng and other speakers. And then we have security and logistics challenges. Then also we have the issue of funding and financial support. All these things, were also discussed. And we have our recommendations. But there's a particular aspect that I want to quickly mention before I leave. Just like some areas, some concerns, some schools of thought and concerns about Dangote's policies. Everyone hailed, Dangote's, arrangements. Virtually all Nigerians are happy with this. It makes for easier access, cheaper rates, and all those things, and for fair competition, if you like. But there are also areas, dark areas, gray areas that also need to be addressed. We need to pay attention to them. One of them is the one that directly affects Nugasa, our members. Nugasa has members over 60, almost 100,000 members across the nation, and our business is in distribution of petroleum products, pushing these products to end users, especially the industries. And all these people, derive their livelihood from this business. That's where they make their living from. Now, when Dangote now steps in to say he's pushing out products, which is laudable, to end users directly, there is a problem. People that are otherwise hitherto been involved in the distribution chain are going to be knocked off. It is simple and straightforward like that. And this aspect, this challenge, unfortunately, had not been looked into prior to Dangote's decision to do that. It would be a business decision, no doubt about that. But when you have challenges like this that happen, they should also be addressed somehow. There should be discussion, dialogue, and anything to ameliorate this type of challenge. We have this on the table, and we are looking forward to having this matter discussed as soon as possible to make life much easier for members of our association. And that's why we're going to deliver this paper and plead that the House Committee will look at it. We are not quarreling with Dangote's plans and what they have on ground. It is very, very wonderful. Everybody applauds it, but there can be better ways of doing this so that everyone will be able to benefit from it, and we shall have a win-win situation. This is what we bring to the table. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir, for keeping to time. Koran, please.
On behalf of the chairman, who should have been here in person, but couldn't because he had a domestic freak accident. I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the 10th National Assembly for working closely with us. As a matter of fact, we have not enjoyed the type of support we have enjoyed from this assembly before. And we want to use this opportunity to say thank you very much, even as we pray that you work more closely with us in time to come. And we hope that we'll achieve the aim of making Nigeria a petroleum production, refining and export hub. Honorable Chairman, thank you. I'll go straight to our memorandum so I can keep to time. Nigerian domestic refining industry is vital to the national economic stability and energy security. By refining crude locally, Nigeria conserves scarce foreign exchange, stabilize fuel supply, and support industrial and agricultural activity. A thriving domestic refining sector reduces dependence on volatile global market, insulates consumers from sudden price hike, and creates jobs in every region. In short, refining at home is central to achieving the Nigerian First Vision. Unfortunately, despite abundant oil reserves and subnational private investment, domestic refineries are operating well below capacity. This underperformance threatens energy security and forces Nigeria to continue draining foreign reserves on fuel export. The shortcomings are not due to lack of resource or demands, but to policy and market failures that have left local refineries at a severe disadvantage. COAN therefore submits the following analysis of key challenges and urges legislative actions to address them. We group these issues thematically and conclude with specific proactive recommendations framed as legislative requests. Our goal is to ensure that Nigeria's refining investments are protected and can deliver affordable, reliable fuel for the nation. Our key challenges. One of the major challenges we have, which have been flogged very well on this, at this forum, is crude supply and regulatory gaps. The Petroleum Industry Act established the domestic crude supply obligations and the domestic crude refining requirement to guarantee steady and sufficient crude oil supply to Nigeria domestic refineries. However, implementation has been weak, and the prevailing willing seller, willing buyer clause has created inherent contradictions that have rendered this critical policy instrument largely ineffective. In practice, crude oil that should be prioritized for local refining is often sold to the international buyers, leaving domestic refineries with little or no guaranteed feedstock. This situation undermines the operational planning, resulting in chronic underutilization of installed refining capacity and forces the country to continue relying on imported fuel despite availability of infrastructure. One of our members had given you guys a live example where they have an installed capacity of 10,000 barrels per day, but unfortunately, for 3 years now, they have been refining only 1,000. The second issue is the inclusion of all refineries in the Naira for Crude program. A government policy to sell crude in exchange for Naira was introduced to support local refining, and we commend the government of President Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu for this ingenious policy. But its benefit has been uneven. Up to date, only refineries who produce PMS enjoy this benefit. This gap discourages smaller refineries who have invested heavily in infrastructure and also refine critical fuels for energy security in the country, but lack access to secured feedstock. COAN calls on the committee to legislate the expansion of the Crude for Naira initiative to all indigenous refineries. A clear law or amendment should mandate that national oil companies allocate crude crude to licensed modular refineries at the same term offered elsewhere. Formal inclusion in the program will guarantee feedstock for those projects, unlock domestic capacity, and accelerate the supply of local product. Thirdly, we are calling for a transparent local crude pricing. Another structural issue is the opaque pricing of crude sold to domestic refineries currently. I had mentioned it earlier on. Each crude sale can involve very, very lengthy and subjective negotiations, creating uncertainties for refineries. In contrast, import crudes and products trade have established international benchmark. Lack of clear pricing formula discourages investment and can impose hidden costs on refiners or on the government. Cora recommends that the committee should legislate to establish a fair and transparent pricing framework for domestic crude offtake. For example, law could prescribe a formula linking the international market price or allow a cost-plus mechanism to ensure fairness. I must add at this point that what we are asking for is not for the Honorable House to actually interfere in the commercial process, but to give us a template in which pricing can be done, as is the practice across the world. Fourthly, we have infrastructural and logistic disadvantages. Inadequate and inefficient infrastructure has significantly increased the cost of operating domestic refineries in Nigeria. The evacuation of refined products and transportation of crude feedstocks are hindered by limited pipeline networks, congestion of ports, and poor road infrastructure. These logistic bottlenecks not only inflate production and distribution costs, but also create a price disequilibrium between consumers in coastal areas and those in inland region. You agree with me, for those of us that are in the north, we buy products much more higher than those who are in coastal areas, where product cost more due to higher transportation expenses. Similarly, the movement of crude feedstocks from product fields to refineries is often delayed and expensive, eroding the competitiveness of local refineries compared to importers who leverage well-established import and distribution channels. To address this structural challenge and create a level playing field, Cora strongly recommends the establishment of a legislative-backed refinery infrastructural development fund. This fund should be designed to support the rapid development, expansion, and modernization of critical midstream and downstream infrastructure, such as pipeline, storage depots, marine facility, and evacuation corridors, needed to ensure efficient and cost-effective operations for both modular and large-scale refineries. Such legislative intervention would reduce transportation and demurrage costs, narrow the price gap between coastal and inland consumers, improve refinery economics and competitiveness against fuels that are imported. Quran urged the committee to prioritize the creation of this fund through appropriate legislative instruments with clear governance structures, funding mechanisms, and target investment priorities. This will not only lower operating costs for local refineries, but also drive long-term investment in the country's downstream value chain. Our policy recommendations to address these issues include: to address these challenges, Quran has respectfully recommended: 1, mandate strict enforcement of domestic crude obligation by amending the PIA to remove the willing seller or willing buyer that has created a kind of lacuna, or better still, amend that language. Secondly, we have said we should extend the Naira for crude policy to include all other refineries, not just only the ones producing PMS. You agree with me that the fuel for operation in Nigeria remains automotive gas oil, which is what our people produce majorly. I think we should have access to crude in Naira to be able to supply the market. And as a matter of fact, all the modular refineries sell their products locally. We are saying that you should also establish a fair and transparent pricing framework for domestic crude supply to replace the ad hoc negotiations that hold sway currently. Fourthly, we want to plead, and emphatically we want to plead, that this committee should consider the establishment of the local refinery infrastructural development fund to catalyze the rapid bailout of midstream and downstream infrastructure. The fund will be financed through 1% surcharge for every imported refined petroleum product and about 0.5 surcharge on every barrel of crude oil exported which does not form part of the government's equity. The fund will be dedicated to support downstream infrastructure and logistics through targeted incentives, improved pipeline access, evacuation corridor development, and tariff reliefs. This intervention will help address the current cost imbalance between coastal and inland markets, reduce crude evacuation bottlenecks, and create a more competitive and efficient domestic refining environment. We want to say that fifth one word that there should be a law to regulate the fuel imports to protect local refining, including quality controls and tariff measures. In conclusion, Koran stands ready to work with the committee and other stakeholders to implement these measures. Passage of the above legislative actions will unlock Nigeria's refining potential, secure our energy supply, and accelerate economic growth. We respectively urge the committee to take swift action on these recommendations in the upcoming sessions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Koran. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, we're taking Nigerian Gas Association, NGA.
And members of the committee, please permit me to stand on existing protocols, sir. And thank you very much for this invitation. Taji Ogbe is my name. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Gas Association. The President of the Nigerian Gas Association, Mr. Akachukwu Wokedi, he was here yesterday, but unavoidably absent today. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to just give some context on the Nigerian Gas Association. We are a chartered member of the International Gas Union, the apex non-partisan umbrella body representing stakeholders across Nigeria's natural gas value chain. We were established in 1999, which means that we're about 26 years old now, and basically the NGA promotes the optimal development and utilization of natural gas to drive national growth, industrialization, and energy security. Mr. Chairman, sir, let me just give you some context on the importance of gas. We've heard it here said today that our estimated resource base is over 210 TCF. And we've also said how long that would last in terms of our current production. So we in the gas industry like to even call the industry the gas and oil industry, not oil and gas, because we believe that Nigeria actually has more gas resources than oil. And we believe that this is strategically important, Mr. Chairman, sir. And we also believe that the fact that globally the energy transition is accelerating, we have environmental concerns, climate change, and energy security being the dominant issues. And this is changing consumption patterns. Yet for Nigeria, energy poverty remains the dominant challenge, with nearly half of Nigerians lacking access to grid electricity and over 80% without stable, reliable power. Natural gas, therefore, must play a central role in Nigeria's energy strategy, Mr. Chairman. It is clean, reliable, and economically viable, both a bridge and destination fuel that allows Nigeria to industrialize responsibly while meeting climate commitments. With our vast reserves and growing domestic demand, gas is not just a resource, it is a solution. Also, Mr. Chairman, domestically, power generation remains the largest gas demand driver, with industry and commerce showing high growth potential. Demand is projected to grow by 16% annually through to 2030, outpacing export volumes. Mr. Chairman, sir, what that means is that if we play our cards right, domestic consumption of gas would actually be more than the gas that we export by 2030. But infrastructure gaps such as aging pipelines and processing plants with limited distribution networks, these need to be addressed urgently. As we reach the midpoint of the decade of gas, this is a time for stock taking and acceleration. Mr. Chairman, sir, let me just highlight some of the key issues for us at the NGA in terms of concern across the value chain. Energy infrastructure security is an issue for us. While we note some of the improvements, there's still a lot to be done there because the insecurity threatens investments and operations. Also, Mr. Chairman, we have the power sector liquidity crisis. Maybe I don't need to delve too much into that, but we do know that power remains the biggest consumer of gas. We also have the infrastructure, which we need quickly built out, right? So you have the AKK, you have the OB3. These are major critical infrastructure that are required to accelerate our industrial aspirations. Key to my communication here with the committee, Mr. Chairman, sir, is the policy gaps. While the PIA is a landmark reform, refinement is still required, and we will make several presentations to you on that. Key for us is that our operators face over 270 statutory fees and charges, which should be rationalized to improve competitiveness and reduce the cost of doing business. Also, Mr. Chairman, I think when it comes to the downstream, even though we have an oil and gas industry seems to be the new player on the block. We have a lot of people now that are contending with the fact that they also have to start handling not just liquids, but gases as well in their downstream operations. So we believe that industrial gas demand remains low due to unreliable power and high tariffs. While LPG, CNG, and autogas adoption is expanding, growth is limited by safety pricing and infrastructure challenges. I think the Deputy Chair spoke earlier quite passionately about the incentive to NLNG. We believe that fiscal incentive for gas-based manufacturing, fertilizer, and petrochemicals, glass, ceramics must be introduced to unlock large-scale offtake. We would also like to mention and commend some of the policy gains. I won't go into them because I would hand over this memorandum to you immediately after my presentation, but we really want to commend the efforts of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, who was here yesterday, the SA Energy, and our regulators, many of who are here today, for the meaningful progress that we've seen in the sector. The priority recommendations, Mr. Chairman, because we believe gas is so strategically important. It's important to power, it's important to industrialization. We believe that there must be strategic policy and legislative review. This means to harmonize gas-related laws, not just the PIA, but laws such as the Finance Act, the Climate Change Act, the Electricity Act, the NTA. We feel that all this need to be harmonized into a national gas development and utilization framework, because we do believe that Nigeria's wealth creation, power sufficiency, energy security, all these things are really, gas is the most reliable and available energy source that we can use to achieve these national objectives. We also feel that the impactful executive orders should be codified into law to ensure sustainability and continuity. There are quite other suggestions here. I will just harp on one other one that I think is important. We also appeal to the committee, Mr. Chairman, to continue to communicate with people the importance of safety and technical standards, especially when it comes to LPG and CNG rollout. And we also want to remind the committee of the good work that the Decade of Gas is doing. The Decade of Gas project initiative, which has an office here in Lagos, and that we continue to sustain that momentum with support of the National Assembly. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, Nigeria's gas industry remains central to energy security, industrialization, and economic diversification. While reforms under the PIA and the Decade of Gas have driven progress, persistent bottlenecks continue to limit full realization of our potential. The NGA reaffirms its commitment to working hand in hand with the National Assembly regulators and industry stakeholders to build a gas-based economy that delivers prosperity, sustainability, and inclusion. We urge this conference and the National Assembly to champion bold reforms, infrastructure completion, investor protection, and regulatory clarity. Let us ensure the Decade of Gas becomes truly a decade of growth, recovery, and wealth creation for all Nigerians. On behalf of the Executive Council and members of the Nigerian Gas Association, we thank the House Committee on Petroleum Resources, Downstream, the National Assembly, the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and the NMDPRA for this opportunity. May God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As we come to the end of today, I think I want to especially thank our special guests today, starting from ITO, and then led by the GMD, and also appreciate NNPC that was well represented today by the Executive Vice President Downstream and the Relationship Officer, Mrs. Barrister Morenike. And also let me appreciate NNDPRA that have been very supportive from day one. We have had a very fantastic working relationship with the NNDPRA, especially the authority chief. And since yesterday, we have been with NNDPRA and have provided us all the needed technical and financial support at every given point in our relationship with them. And also let me appreciate Nupeng that have been with us since yesterday and have presented a detailed, robust presentation on what are the issues. And Koran and Petron and Nagasa and Dapman that have been with us from Lagos up to here also and have been very supportive, and the Nigerian Gas Association. The whole essence of our gathering has been to, first of all, celebrate areas that we have made progress, which we have done, and then look at our challenges, which is also a bit numerous, and then find solutions. There is no winner, there is no loser. All we want is victory for Nigerian people, and the only way we can have victory is to have a competitive, efficient, and all-inclusive downstream sector. And that is why we all gathered here today. So these submissions that we have received, which is the whole essence of why we are here, we're going to study them so that as lawmakers we'll now be well informed on what are the real issues in the sector, so that when we are formulating our legislative proposals and the proposed amendments of the PIA, some of these key issues that we have noticed after hearing from the key stakeholders can now be well incorporated to help bring sustainable peace and stability. And of importance to us is also the issue of the back and forth on the availability of crude supply to domestic refineries. It's a matter of national interest for us. We cannot have refineries, we cannot have whether modular or big refineries, and then we are having conversation whether they have the raw material to do their work. So as a matter of national interest, we intend to tackle it and find a solution that will protect the commercial interests of those producing crude, and more importantly, protect the national interests of Nigerians, seeing that the crude that is produced in Nigeria is refined in Nigeria and used by Nigerian people. That is something that this committee wants to achieve at all costs. So on that note, I appreciate everybody that have helped us in arriving at these informations that we have, and want to thank you so much and ask God to continue to bless all of you, that together we will find peace and sustainability in the downstream sector. Thank you all.
Chairman, honorable colleagues, distinguished guests. We have come to the end of day 2 of this event. The conversation continues outside these premises. So I urge everyone to go back, think through all that we have discussed, see how you can bend where you should bend for the interest of the country. Some of us believe that energy is part of essential service and must be taken seriously by all parties. So I thank my colleagues, especially the ones who have been here since morning, and even the latecomer like my brother, Opuzo. I still thank you for coming late. The spokesman of the House, I thank you for coming too early. I thank the participants. I even thank the protesters who were outside. It's part of democracy. So, on that note, I say God bless you all as we depart to our various destinations.